Welcome to the Farrell Sports Business Podcast, where I interview newsmakers from the sports business industry, entrepreneurs, leaders, talk about their career journey, topics of the day going on in sports business. I'm the host, Matt Farrell. This week, we're going to go back to the sport of pickleball, all from the business side of it, from a gentleman who oversees a series of conferences and leadership summits focused on the business side. We're going to talk about what he believes to be a $500 billion industry in the next 10 years, entrepreneurial efforts in the sport, business models that are growing in the sport, technology that is advancing in the sport, and some of their upcoming conferences in Hong Kong and Dubai, and then even coming back to the United States later. This week on the Farrell Sports Business Podcast, we're going to talk to the founder of Pickleball Minds, Amitabh Jain. Amitabh, thanks for joining. So glad you're here.
Pleasure, Matt. Always pleasure talking to you. I'm happy that I'm here.
Well, we met through Pickleball Minds, which we're going to talk a lot about, and an event you put on in Princeton, New Jersey. But I've just, well, you know, I love the sport of pickleball. I love to talk about pickleball. And I really want to get into Rally Sports Venture and Pickleball Minds. But maybe just start with a little bit of your background first.
Sure, Matt. I am an engineer and an MBA by education. I spent initial 6.5 years of my career in a couple of startups. And then I spent about 15 years in IT consulting and private equity and related businesses. So kind of a checkered career, so to say. Lived in multiple cities, different places, experienced different culture, which I think that's a privilege to be able to see the world, and I'm happy that I'm here.
So some of that, like in technology, even some time at IBM.
Yes, I think almost 14 years with IBM. In different divisions of IBM, right from BPS, which is like a BPO background, plus finance, plus IT consulting, plus application development and support. So different things in the IT industry within IBM as well.
So Pickleball Minds, I was fortunate enough to play a part in what I believe was the very first conference in Princeton, New Jersey, earlier this spring. Just tell us what is Pickleball Minds.
Yep, and it was a pleasure to have you there, Matt. So Pickleball Minds started as a concept, I would say, sometime in September, October of 23. So I'll take a step back. I started playing pickleball in early 2022. Figured that there are quite a few people getting interested into it. There were always lines wherever pickleball was being played, and I thought maybe there's a business opportunity here. So, and I something that I remembered at that point in time, and I do remind this to everybody that I speak with, and I'll throw a question to you. Have you seen the movie The Founder? That's the
No.
movie. That's the movie
Oh, with the
about
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah,
Yes,
McDonald's.
yes.
Ray Kroc, right? So, in that movie or through that movie, I learned what Ray Kroc actually spotted, which made him make McDonald's what it is today. And what he spotted was two things. One, there was always a line on that McDonald's store that he saw, and there were always happy faces around the store. And if you think about pickleball, I think these two elements are pretty valid for pickleball as well. Wherever you go, you see lines of people waiting to play pickleball, and people are generally happy playing pickleball. So if I just correlate that to a business opportunity, I think there's a tremendous business opportunity that is ahead of us. And I thought maybe this is where I can go back to my startup kind of a mindset and start something. And that's how I started Rally Sports Venture. And then Pickleball Minds happened because when I started Rally Sports Venture, I realized that there is probably a wide space for business leaders in the ecosystem of pickleball to come together to collaborate, partner, learn. And maybe there's a method to the madness that can be provided here. And that's why I designed Pickleball Minds, kind of on similar lines as the typical VC or PE forums that happened, which I'm sure you would have participated. Many of us have participated in those. So I've been a speaker and a participant in quite a few of those. So I thought maybe there's a wide space to create something like Pickleball Minds, where the finest minds of the industry and the business leaders can come together to collaborate and partner. That is how Pickleball Minds happened. And we had the first forum in May in Princeton. And I believe it did get some good feedback and good reviews from the people who participated and people who heard about it. And Matt, I might have shared this with you, but I think 91% of the respondents rated 5 on 5 on Pickleball Minds in Princeton.
Just getting business leaders together in
Yeah.
an emerging industry, really, I think is really important. But even the name, the Davos of Pickleball, was that your creation?
Yeah, that was my creation. And the reason behind it was I wanted to create something which is seen as the most prestigious and the elite forum for people to participate in. They should be looking forward to and should feel good about being associated with. And there's nothing like Davos, where the World Economic Forum happens, as in it's the most prestigious and premium forum in the world from an economic perspective. And I thought I can use that analogy, I can use that name and say, okay, this is the Davos of Pickleball, the most prestigious and elite forum for the business leaders, for the who's who of pickleball to get associated with.
So you hit on the business side of it, where that's where I want to transition to. And even I think most people know that it's the fastest growing sport, whatever, 3 years in a row, 5 years in a row. I think we all see that, but really want your perspective on the entrepreneurial side of the sport, the business side of the sport, what's happening. And so maybe we start there of, are there areas of entrepreneurial growth that you're seeing within the sport of pickleball?
Yeah. Right. So, if we think about the ecosystem of the pickleball industry, or for that matter, any sport, all right, if we have to define the key business areas or the players in the industry from an industry perspective, of course, there are players which are professional players or amateur players in the center of the mix. There are investors, there are governing bodies, there are manufacturers, supply chain, there are people from services perspective, agencies, marketing, legal, insurance. There are individuals who are trying to create careers in the sport, whether it is the players themselves, whether there are coaches, tournament directors, referees. There are so many things that happen. And when we are in a sport or an industry like pickleball, where the growth is so overwhelming at this point in time, if we just talk about the US as the beginning, but yeah, we can talk about the global market as well. And we have done some calculations, which I should be able to share during the course of this discussion. But if we go back and think about this ecosystem of the players in the industry, I think the canvas is very broad, nascent, and conducive. What that means is that anybody in this ecosystem who has got whatever interest level or whatever capabilities or skills, I think there's a tremendous growth to happen for them. So the canvas is huge, the pie is growing. I think it's just a matter of identifying where an individual wants to play a role and utilizing that and capitalizing that and rise with the tide. So that is how I would see it. But this whole ecosystem and the people involved, everybody is interlinked and everybody is lifting each other up.
So when you go back to, as you said, late 2022 or 23 with Pickleball Minds. What what did you think was going to happen with that? Anything that just you didn't expect?
Uh, all right. So I one thing that I was convinced about pretty much was that uh, there's a lot of opportunity in this space. What I personally did not know was because I was new, so to say, to the industry, right? There were people who had been associated with the sport and the business side and the governing side of this for almost decades, but maybe 4 or 5 years at least, and I was completely new. So I was hoping that I'll be able to create an impression and a dent in the market with the kind of positioning that I thought about Pickleball Minds. And when I started talking to various people, interviewed a lot of people, created about a list of 25 to 30 themes that will be of interest to any business owner in the pickleball industry, then created the different panels and the experts that we brought on the table. One thing that I heard from most of them, and that resonates with me at this point in time, is the kind of growth that people were expecting. Everybody was thinking, okay, maybe 3 to 5 years, this X will be like 3X or 5X or whatever. I think everybody would agree that whatever roadmap that they had or whatever they were expecting to happen in 3 to 5 years has actually happened in 2 years. So I think that's a big thing that is happening, wherein if you're expecting X to happen in 3 years, that is happening in 1 year in the sport, and correspondingly the business side of the sport. So that's a positive or a good
That's
problem to have, but it's really overwhelming.
that's a good word for it. So, I mean, if we break that down a little bit, one of the things, and this is purely from just seeing what's happening in industry news, seeing LinkedIn posts,
Mhm.
there seems to be all kinds of just different franchises that are
Yeah,
popping up. And, most people will mention Chicken and Pickle, which I think is a phenomenal type of
yeah,
franchise and
yeah,
experience. But there just seems to be exploding
yeah.
franchises across the sport.
Across the sport, right? I think almost 1,000 odd franchises that have been sold in last 2 years alone. And I'm very happy to see the kind of growth and the possibilities that the end consumer, the individuals are getting in terms of the courts, the indoor facilities and stuff like that. And of course, competition is always good because that improves the player experience. Uh, I'm happy for the sport, the way it is growing. In fact, when we started Rally Sports Venture, even before Pickleball Minds, my first priority was to create a model or a template club which can be replicated across the globe so that we can create a huge enterprise, so to say. And by the time I could figure out the nuts and bolts of that, I realized that there are so many large groups that have already gotten into it, and maybe the place is getting a little crowded. And that's when I switched my priority from creating a model club to creating Pickleball Minds. And I hope that worked out well. But I'm very happy for the growth of the sport. And I'm very happy with the kind of joy that this sport is bringing to people.
It's so impressive. So, I mean, with that growth, you're going to see innovation in some areas,
Yeah.
and you can take this wherever you want it to go, whether it's on the sports side or the business side. Any technology innovations and advances that you're seeing?
So I think tech-enabled services and experiences is going to play an important role as it does in any field, right? So it kind of multiplies the effect of the experience or the skill development or the entertainment aspects or the scalability aspects. So whether a technology is enabling an easier and faster club management, whether a technology is enabling the fan engagement, whether it is enabling the standardization in terms of, say, ratings or rankings, all those things are going to play an important role in pickleball as we move forward. Because right now, the standards are still getting developed and they are all evolving. So the more involvement of the tech aspects or the tech angles into this is going to bring in more and more data, which will help in more and more standardization and refinement in the sport. So I think that's where it is going, and we are seeing a lot of tech entrepreneurs jumping into this, using what has been done in other sports, trying to replicate whatever can be replicated, creating something new, which is pretty unique to pickleball. But I think right from, say, club management, fan engagement, coaching, the AI aspects in terms of skill development, it's very exciting to see all those developments and people working on some of those initiatives.
So, another thing that's really in the news in professional sports, and even fairly recently with the NFL, is even private equity coming into professional sports leagues,
Yeah.
which is not something I would have seen 10 years ago. Where do you see investor interest perking up in
Yeah.
pickleball?
So we've done some calculations, and I think the pickleball industry as such, and when I talked about that ecosystem of pickleball, uh, overall the industry is going to be around $500 billion in maybe a decade. But that'll happen. So we have done a lot of grounds up calculations around that. So I know I'm throwing a big number here, but if we look at the overall ecosystem and the kind of participation that we are seeing in this sport, both at amateur and as the professional side is also developing, I think that's the kind of number in terms of the industry size that we are going to see in about a decade's time. Now, we at this point in time, I think we all know that this sport is very egalitarian. And when I say so, it is like anybody can play anytime, anywhere with anybody. And I call it the four A's here: uh, anybody, anywhere, anytime, anybody. Right. So this is the four A's
I
of
like it.
pickle, which makes it pretty unique and huge in terms of the expected growth at a global level. And this number that I'm talking about is at a global level. Uh, I think whatever we have seen in United States, if depending upon whatever source we use, whether we are at 15 million players or 40 million players, different sources, different numbers, the growth across the globe will be 10 times, maybe in 5 to 10 years. And we'll be surprised. As I said, some of these things have happened faster than what people had expected. I'll not be surprised if it happens faster than that, but it'll at least be 10 times before we could even really imagine the kind of growth that we'll see. So if I correspond that to the kind of business opportunity, the number that I'm talking about, if I talk about the investor community, I think there are 3 or 4 key areas that are of interest. One would be facilities, international facilities, and facilities could be of different business models, right? Where you talked about chicken and pickle, there are other clubs, there are country club models, there are bare bone models, there are as a top golf type of models and all that, right? So depending upon the region and what each market can absorb, there will be different models that will evolve, but all will be around the facilities development. The second would be around talent development. The third, I would say, would be around the leagues and the events, because that is where a lot of attraction has to happen from not just the players, but the people who are going to watch the game as well. And over time, anybody who's interested or who's into any sport, Matt, I think will have pickleball as either their first or the second sport in their lives. If they think their number of or preferred sport is, let's say, tennis or cricket or baseball or whatever, I think everybody would still have pickleball as the second game, and there will be a lot of people who will have pickleball as their first game. And as we know, right, this sport has really opened a completely new segment, which was kind of difficult for a lot of people. And the segment that I'm talking about are the people who were, for some reason, were not as physically active to play any other sport, they can play this sport. This is an 8 to 80 age group sport, right? So there's a whole new market segment that has been opened by pickleball, which was not really touched upon, so to say. So that's another tremendous opportunity that people are looking at tapping, and I think investors are paying heed to that.
Are there any particular models that you're seeing develop? Maybe a little. Well, everything's growing faster than prediction, but anything
Yeah.
specific to call out from a business model standpoint that you see?
Uh, I think there's space for multiple business models to coexist. And I think there will be market for all of them. The Of course, the test of time is the biggest test, as people will keep on refining and defining and evolving their respective models for different regions, different cultures. uh, there will be a opportunity for multiple business models to exist.
How about, I think both of us would consider ourselves very positive people, but anything on the negative side that you see as any weaknesses with pickleball, and maybe some of that's good problems to have on growth, but yeah,
Yeah.
any weaknesses you see on growth?
Uh, uh, I don't know if I want to use the word weaknesses, Matt, or a negative. I don't think. I maybe I will call them as gaps.
Okay.
Okay, so one a gap, of course, that so when we started thinking and defining rally sports ventures plans and objectives, and thinking of it as creating as a conglomerate which will have its business interests in all the different aspects or domains of the game. uh, of course, we felt that there's a gap in terms of getting the business leaders or the knowledge, and that's why Pickleball Minds was created, and that's how Pickleball Minds was born. I think that's one gap that we are trying to address with Pickleball Minds, and with Pickleball Minds going global, because most of the activities and attention thus far has been in the US market, so to say. Maybe 70-80% of all the activities that
Yeah.
have happened in the US. But Pickleball Minds is the forum that we are looking at to fill that gap that we identified. I think that was the one gap that we had identified. The second point that I would like to make here is probably, I think, concerted efforts in raising the profile of the game in a consistent manner. I think that's one piece that needs to be really addressed carefully and sooner than later. Because as we talk about this sport becoming an Olympic sport, and a lot of stuff that has to happen around it, there's a framework that I have launched, which is called the 5 squares to 5 rings framework, which is how we can use this to make pickleball, or get pickleball approved as an Olympic sport over a period of time. I think that, coming back to that point, that concerted efforts consistently to raise the profile of the game is the phrase that I'll use, is the gap that we need to fill.
That makes sense. How about, and I want to give a little bit of a plug for upcoming Pickleball Minds conferences and events. But just before we go there, globally,
Mhm.
where are you seeing pockets or regions of the country that you think are ready for growth and or are already growing?
Okay, so see, some activities and some sports or some business ventures are generally suited for a particular demographic or a particular culture or a particular region. And there are some which are beyond those kind of constraints. And in that group of beyond, I believe pickleball is actually somewhere in the top of that list, which is beyond any of these constraints. It has such a global appeal that it is going to get embraced. As in, we have spoken about Africa, we have talked about Asia, we have seen that in Asia Pacific, we are seeing that in Middle East, we are seeing that in Europe. I think all these regions are at a different stage of evolution, so to say. Maybe they are 4 or 5 years back where the US was, and maybe they'll evolve faster than whatever happened in the US. So I think eh, the 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 global appeal of this sport is going to uh, create a 10 times growth in the sport in next 5, 6, 7 years or so. And I believe Asia, of course, the population is almost 10 times of the rest of the world, but Asia would definitely be leading the charge. And there's going to be an explosive growth in Asia in terms of participation, both in terms of amateur as well as the professional level. So I think there will be a tremendous and explosive growth in that region, which is waiting to be capitalized.
Makes sense, which maybe explains the business models growing and investors coming in and
Yeah.
the $500 billion number. Um, so I know you have, let's talk about where Pickleball Minds goes next. I know you
Yeah.
have an event coming up in Hong Kong that's very investor driven. What's the future for Pickleball Minds, and
Yeah.
where could we attend? And
Oh, yeah,
it's a chance
absolutely.
to give a little shameless plug, AJ.
Yeah. Okay. So as you would have realized, we're talking about a global brand that is getting created here via Pickleball Minds, the Davos of Pickleball, and we are looking at the kind of opportunities that we're seeing at a global level. We envisaged what is called the TAP program, TAP, the accelerator program within Pickleball Minds, wherein we can help the supply and demand in terms of the businesses, whether it is from the investor perspective or people who are seeking funds to come together in a format, which is what we are calling as the Pickleball Minds TAP program. It's like tapping the opportunity. With we're kicking that off with Investor Summit in Hong Kong, which is going to happen next week on September 20th. And we are expecting a very good number of people who are looking at the business opportunity of pickleball from an investment perspective to participate in that forum. If anybody is interested and can travel to Hong Kong, I know it's a short notice. They can reach out to us at contact@rileysportsventure.com, or they can reach out directly to me at aj@rileysportsventure.com. So that's one event that is planned. We have a full-fledged Pickleball Minds forum, similar to what we had in Princeton. That's going to happen in Dubai on January 16th. We'll be launching the announcement for registration for that event in a few weeks from now. And we are expecting it to be as maybe better than what it was in Princeton. So that's the goal.
It's a high
That's how
bar.
we, yeah. So that's happening in January on January 16th. Then there are a couple of other international forums that we'll be announcing in due course of time. And then we'll, of course, come back full circle back to Princeton in the summer of next year. So that's how we'll have a series of Pickleball Minds event. And if people are interested, they can definitely follow us on LinkedIn, Rally Sports Pickleball Minds. They can follow us on Insta and Facebook handles Pickleball Minds, and they can always become members of Pickleball Minds by going to the membership page on our website, www.pickleballminds.com. So that's how people can participate or coordinate with us on various activities and events. And as always, our objective, our purpose is to connect and create a forum or create a platform for people to find out ways to grow and collaborate in this industry.
Well, AJ, you're doing incredible work, and having attended one myself, you've already set the bar high. It's just a fascinating conversation to really look at the business side of this. And I think we'll all get out and play a little bit more. But AJ, thanks for carving out a little bit of your time. I greatly appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure and a privilege always to be with you and talking to you. And I think one thing, if I can probably make as one of my closing comments, is in any industry, or for that matter in life, right, we take X steps forward and Y steps backwards. And it's the difference between X and Y that defines how fast and how far we go. My intention is to maximize X and minimize Y for the industry. And I hope that people will respond, support, join forces. I think we can make history here.
I love it. Well, the first key is to start with a great product, as you said, that makes people happy. So the rest is going on a great trajectory. AJ, thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks.
Again, I just really want to thank AJ for his insight. He's always so gracious with his time and is just really being a leader in the pickleball industry. So if you like that conversation, give us a follow, a like on podcasting platforms. Even leave us a comment of topics you'd like to hear in the future. And give it a subscribe on YouTube, where you can actually watch this podcast as well. So if you like the pickleball conversation, just know back in the vault, we have a previous conversation with Diadem Sports on pickleball, but we also hit a variety of topics of leaders and newsmakers within the sports business, from executive recruiting to sponsorship sales to even a look at the booming business that is sports travel. So thanks again for tuning in to the Farrell Sports Business Podcast. Follow along, and we'll talk to you next time.